Moving along, what are your thoughts? Because I really don't like when Housewives goes to this level, but Real Housewives of New Jersey, I'll call it, on display. Jennifer throwing something at the Gorgas. What is your thoughts on? That's not even for the show, and I was never a big Teresa fan. The flipping the table didn't do much for me, but I've just always been a Melissa fan, and I just don't like this Jen. I guess that's the period. That's the sentence. I don't really enjoy her on the show. And, it's one thing when they get into, I think it was last season, they sort of got in each other's face, but now you're throwing things. Sure, it didn't hurt nobody, but it's the general personality. How do you feel about all that?
I mean, look, I think Melissa said it best on her podcast afterwards. Like, right, you're not on the show now. This is a fan convention for fans that, they're not, of course, they're there for that. They would have sat there and pulled up a chair for all night, but like, it's really to celebrate fans. Now, mind you, these fans paid $1 gazillion and Bravo's making $1 gazillion and all the housewives are making a ton of money. But, it's right. Like, know your behavior. Look, we all snap and do something. I believe that, and look, there's so much to say about this. I believe, and I've also heard a rumor. I heard a rumor, a pretty reliable source
I heard a rumor.
Right. I heard a rumor. Bananarama, that Jennifer was sent home, that she wasn't at Watch What Happens the last night, but I was heard, and they knocked on her door and said, you have to leave. And she went ballistic. So I believe a couple of things. I believe, because
this is good.
Right. And I mean, it's from a pretty reliable source. I believe that Jennifer was sorry once she did it, not towards Melissa, but I think she knew after she did it, like, wait a second, this could have ramifications for me. Now, again, I heard a rumor. He knocked on her door and said, you're not going to Watch What Happens. You have to leave. And I mean, I don't know if it was 5 security people. I don't know who showed up. And then, I mean, as soon as I saw her do it, there was all this damage control of like, look at the angle and this and the.
Oh my goodness. I get so tired of that. Like, she had a friend who did a god awful TikTok, and like, you got to have also, I think this is what you're going to say. You have to think about when 2 cast members get into it, who are the cast members? And one, like, it rolls off their shoulders. Maybe they're mad, but Melissa, it rolls off their shoulders. Maybe she'll take it to a podcast. That's it. But the other ones, and this happens in Potomac a lot too. I don't always agree with some of the Potomac gals who will write to Twitter and re-narrate a story. I'm always like, I mean, you're fooling a lot of people, but you're not fooling Ronnie. No.
And it's strange to me, right? So I think Jennifer, look, I'm just wondering, like, I mean, Andy made a statement that he thinks it's disgusting. Like, I think, and a lot of people, are actually on Jennifer's side, the majority of viewers.
Not happy about that.
I mean, look, I used to be friends with her in the real world. So I'm going to take my own opinion as a human. I think she's a vile human being. Do I think she's given us entertainment? Sure. But I think that no matter what, I know everyone's saying you don't speak to women that way. I just think at the end of the day, with security and Andy and the bigger Bravo statement, I don't care if this has nothing to do with me not liking her as a person. I just think that when she threw that, the minute it happened, I think she said, oh shit. Like, I think no matter what, unless there's footage of Joe Gorga or some guy like grabbing her physically, I think when you throw something, I don't care if it was like a 4th full of water and it was just water, I think you are still in the wrong. And I wouldn't be shocked. No one has said this to me. Is Jennifer going to be allowed at Watch What Happens? Because Diana wasn't at Watch What Happens all season. It's nothing to do with the bots. It's very strange.
Yeah.
And Jen Shah's not going to Watch What Happens at all.
No.
So Andy doesn't even like Jennifer Aydin, but I think she's now starting to be like worried. When you do something and no one calls you and no one says anything and you sit with it, it's just like when you commit a crime, right? I mean, I haven't committed a crime, but like a Jen Shah or like a Tom Girardi, like when you're not found, you have good days and you think you're over it and then you come. So I think, this is my opinion, Jennifer is now spiraling out of control. I heard from someone she is, but I think it's like, oh my God, I wouldn't be shocked if she couldn't go to Watch What Happens. This had bigger implications of like, you did this at a fan event. I don't think she'll be invited to BravoCon next year. Really. And maybe I'm making a big deal out of it and it will pass, but I still think whether you're on her side or the Gorga side, I think Bravo from a corporate point of view is you threw something and now you're wrong.
Yeah, I mean, I guess to some degree it's a tiny bit hypocritical because if that would have been on the show, it would have been, I guess, okay. But there is a certain like this is the job. This is the job. You get into mess. Definitely don't put your hands on nobody, but like that's the job. But yeah, at a fan event, it does cross the line. And so however she TikToks her way out of it, I don't know. And me, I'm just such a Melissa Gorga fan, but I'll take the Jen side for a second. With Jen, maybe she did good her first couple seasons. Maybe she found her thing. Oh, get right under Teresa. That's going to work. Jump into the Melissa BS and let me just keep hammering that. But there is a time where some of these housewives, these cast members, they let it get too away from them. And that's, I think, what we're seeing. I just hated it. I hope there could be like a Jen apology or something to keep this because it's so uncomfortable. You know, at the house, at the BravoCon, she's like, oh, they're clinging on to dear life. It's like Melissa's not wasting her time talking about Jen, but Jen just keeps on going, keeps on going, keeps on going, keeps on going. Then they have the moment in the elevator, and then it's like, oh, I'm now the one who they're against. Like you can't talk that much, Jen, and then expect no reaction.
And right. And like the thing is, look, the best housewives, like Giselle does this really well.
We love Giselle, yeah.
But she does, she like yes, you could have thrown that drink on air. Yes, that's hypocritical, but you could have. You're not being paid more to do the social media. So to come here, like most housewives, if you really got it together, you're like, this is a money maker. I'm in the market selling my shirts and selling this, and I'm on the stage. And yeah, I'm giving shade to someone sitting next to me, but it's light shade, right? It's light shade. You don't, right? So I think Jennifer doesn't understand that. And I do think, yes, eventually along the journey, certain housewives start to lose it. And that's when they lose themselves and they believe the hype. And then that's when it's the beginning of the end. And also when they think it's not going to happen to me. Wait, Melissa's slipping. Teresa doesn't speak to her. I'm Teresa's number one. I'm going to be on the show. Melissa's going to be gone. When you start making a narrative that heavily it's like it's even at like an inch, you get too cocky and you really believe it. And that's we've seen it with everyone. Lisa Rinna might be able to save herself. I think she's going to come back, but
I do
she's
too.
a perfect example of someone that has gotten like I just think so. I think Jen doesn't realize like the point of BravoCon is not to be Jennifer on the Housewives. Like this is a business person and
yeah,
entertain the fans. And yes, give some shade on the stage. And sure, that's expected, but not to this level. And I really think just it's a bunch of people that, like, I'm sure Melissa is sorry she said that, but it's people are coming out on Jen's side about like you know, I mean, look, there's a lot of people turning on the Gorgas now, but
well, they've always done that, and I have always said, shut up. I am Melissa Gorga Hive all day. She's the J-Lo of Housewives. She was on display in the final in the Kenya. Who was it? Kenya, Sheena, and Candace. She was the final performance at Watch What Happens Live. She's a star. If Melissa needs to leave the show for a year or two, that's fine too. I'm just always going to be Team Melissa Gorga. It just is what it is.
And not for nothing. If it were me, like you know, no one's going to like me saying this, but I like, you know, this whole thing with Ebony and this investigation, like I have no problem with that. Like people can say that you like, to me, it's like when it's a real, maybe this is because I'm a lawyer, when it's either a real world thing, like the Ebony Ramona thing, or you're my enemy. So like if I were Melissa, this is just me, I'm sure she's doing this, I would now be trying to take this as far as I could up the ladder to get and kicked off the show, banned from Watch What Happens. I like if she's not doing all that, whether your team this or that, just as a like, it's almost like you have an opening, like someone threw something at you. So now I would be like, I want to file a form. This is just me. I want to file a form of complaint and this and that. Let's pull the video footage. I think no matter what Joe Gorga said, you can say that's inappropriate to speak to women that way or whatever. But unless there was physical touch, I think she's in the wrong. And if I were Melissa, I would be taking this up the ladder of like, something was thrown at me. So
Yeah.
I'll file a
I
formal.
value your conversation, and in regards of, you said you at one time were closer to Jen, but you keep it, you just give it up. You give it up exactly what needs to be said. Best
Yeah,
case scenario,
yeah, yeah.
Jen learns from the experience and maybe could start, saying, "Wow, I got a little out of sorts," and maybe tries to mend the Melissa relationship. I even think that would be good TV on another season. You know what I mean? Like it right now is just two the same. It's like Teresa, and there goes Jen right up her butt. It's like we already know what we're gonna see. So even that Jen keeps carrying that storyline season after season to like just go against Melissa for whatever. Melissa could sneeze and it's a problem for Jen. This might be a good change for the show's sake too, but this is what happens. They probably had a really good season. Melissa may have not had a good season, and the wedding. So yeah, Jen might be like, "Oh yeah, I'm the number one," and yeah, I don't know.
Well, we're not there yet because everyone's doubling down. Jen is making statements and showing videos on her Instagram. Melissa's talk. So I mean, neither person is backing away from it.
Yeah. I was gonna ask, what do you think of the love bubble that is Louis and Teresa, but I guess we'll see it on the show.
I mean,
um,
that I think that this is a match made in heaven. I think it's going to last. I think that Louis is, I still get that dirty John vibes from him. And the goal of that is to, if you look at how it works, the goal is to alienate the person from everyone around them. He'll
mhm.
never alienate her from the daughters. So short of that, you did exactly what, yes, there's been issues between Melissa and Joan and Teresa forever, but it's real now. And Louis is like, when you're finally in, you speak out. He is speaking out. I am
Mm,
so happy. And the way they've treated my wife, Google it. He's making statements
yeah.
past decade. And but I think that he is a narcissist and I know the other women that dated him were married. So, I mean, they're like, screw you. Teresa, I mean, if you're a narcissist and you have someone looking up at you that like would like, she's this is perfect. She puts him on such a pedestal. You can have all the money in the world. You can't buy real fame. I think he wanted fame. She gives him that.
Oh yeah.
He gives her a family. She never, Kim says this every week on my Patreon, Kim D. She was over them years ago. She needed them. She doesn't need Melissa and Joe anymore. So I actually really think, call it whatever you want, dysfunctional, but they're both in love. I think this is going to last
Wow.
forever.
They'll be like Heidi and Spencer,
Yeah.
where it's them against the show.
I
Maybe they'll get a spinoff. Who knows?
I they push they're the perfect match of what each of them needs in the world. Yep.
I like that analysis.